gives a fuck about an Oxford comma? By Great 78.
Who gives a fuck about an Oxford comma? I've seen those English dramas too. They're cruel. So if there's any other way to spell the word, it's fine with me. With me.
Chapter 31. Bitter Sweet Symphony. Still Sunday, November 7th, 1999. Pegwater Flat 307, Christchurch College, Oxford, England. Hermione. She looked once again at the words on the page in disbelief. 4 little words had turned the world upside down for her, even as the conversation that was being recorded continued in the sitting room between Draco and Minister Shacklebolt. I love Hermione Granger. There it was, in Draco's words. She knew for sure it had been said by Draco, and not only because of the words he'd said, but because of the handwriting that it was written in. This particular quick quotes quill had been spelled not to record just a high volume of words. It was also spelled to write in the handwriting of the speaker. Shacklebolt's words were an odd dichotomy. Neat, cramped, perfectly spaced sentences, juxtaposed with occasional spurts of unpredictable erraticism that went on for a word or two before reverting to the neat penmanship from before. Draco's handwriting was much more familiar to her, as it looked like the handwriting within his class notes. The handwriting wasn't the formal, perfect, almost calligraphy style of penmanship that he'd used for his turned-in assignments, and for the 2 notes he had written to her, the one asking her to visit before his trial, and the one attached to the Muggle photograph from the Incubus project. No, this was the neat, unadorned script that Draco used for his most private thoughts. She was certain now. The shape of the letters that flowed from the beloved quill on her desk were very familiar, she thought. Then she sucked in a hasty breath of realization. Rushing to her nightstand, Hermione ignored the shushing sounds from the 2 wizards as she tore into the bottom drawer, pushing aside the mementos and useless bits and bobs she had collected. The witch found what she was looking for, the note that had accompanied the quill, the most treasured, thoughtful gift she'd ever received. The note read, "For the witch who is just as rare and beautiful as this feather." The handwriting was an exact match for Draco. Her mind was suddenly awash in muddled thoughts. He'd given her this, when? A year ago, a bit more. Only a handful of months after she'd testified for him. Had he felt something for her, even then? She looked up at the 2 wizards. Harry was looking back and forth between her and Ron. This note. This was the card that came with that quill. Do you remember giving that to me, Ron? Hermione, the ginger wizard began uncomfortably. Hermione cut him off. The note was unsigned. I always assumed it came from you. Ron was looking at the ground now.
Hermione, I can explain,
he started. You told me that the quill was from you, she said quietly, when you came to visit soon after. You made me believe that you had gotten me something so thoughtful, so perfect. Her voice broke now.
I would have, Hermione, I didn't know. I never know what to get you, what you're thinking, what things you might like,
the ginger wizard said defensively. But he knew, Ron. Draco Malfoy knew, she said, almost in a whisper, almost to herself. How had Draco known what her perfect gift would be? Could he really have this depth of feelings for her? Harry was staring at the scroll on the desk now.
Bloody hell, what is this?
Ron looked relieved and Hermione was still thunderous, but the origin of the quill was momentarily forgotten. The pair of them hurried to Harry's side, and Hermione picked up one of the extendable ears to listen to the sounds of the words being said outside in the sitting room, even as the three of them continued reading the words on the scroll in front of them. I love Hermione Granger too much to hold her back that way. Then you're just as much of a fucking fool as your father was. Shacklebolt laughed. Why else would the two of you go and visit her parents, if not to ask for her hand in marriage? Or is this just all some typical Malfoy plot to save your own skin? Marry the beloved mudblood and avoid Azkaban? Draco's voice turned flinty. I went to see her parents because, well, it doesn't concern you. All of this concerns me, Malfoy. I'm very concerned. Why don't you just concern yourself with doing your job well and leave us the fuck alone? Draco fairly yelled. Why did you feel the need to make Granger and me carry around pins to track us everywhere we went? Why are you fucking with her grades? Why did you need to know what her ambitions are? Why did you feel like you needed to force me to marry her? Who died and made you God? Hermione's eyes grew wide again, new revelations cascading into old ones within her mind. Draco had mentioned something about pins earlier, but her mind had snagged on other things in the discussion, and she had discarded the thought for later. Now she stared at the words. Pins to track us everywhere we went. The pin provided by Miranda Perkins, of course. That was why Draco had insisted upon keeping her scarf. He had not wanted her tracked. Hermione was furious for not trusting herself. Her instincts had told her that something was wrong about the pins from the start. She should have questioned it more, especially once she realized that Jason was more than met the eye. She reached up to touch the scarf around her neck now. Clearly, this was a replica, because if Shacklebolt knew she was in here, he would not be saying these things. Where is the scarf now? The real one? She asked the other two quietly, knowing that they likely knew the answer. Theo left with it. We couldn't figure out how to break your enchantments, so we just duplicated it. That's the copy you're wearing now, Harry answered. She nodded, then looked down at the words again. Needed to force me to marry her. Her voice was very small now. Do you think that's all this is? Do you think he's just pretending that he feels this way because the Ministry told him to marry me? The two wizards exchanged a glance, but finally it was Ron who broke their silence. When Theo came in to retrieve the scarf, something fell out of it. A note. He put it on your bed. I know we shouldn't have read it, Hermione. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't another threat. But you should probably read it too. His words came out as though they pained him to say. She moved to the bed, noticing for the first time the tiny note placed carefully on her pillow. With fumbling, shaky fingers, she smoothed the paper on the bed covers to read. Granger, you dropped your quill, but I found it and saved it for you. Something as rare and beautiful as this doesn't deserve to be lost forever. The same goes for you. I cleaned everything up. I'm sorry I acted the way I did towards you, and I'm sorry for making you live this way for so long. I hope you like it better like this. I hope you'll like me better like this. Perhaps one day you'll even love me like this, the way I love you. Draco. Tears pricked at her eyes as she looked back up at the other two. He really loves me. Ron looked as though he had swallowed something particularly disgusting. I suppose so. And all of this, the three of you, you set this up to try and, what? Get Kingsley to confess to trying to sabotage me? For what? So I wouldn't steal his job? Why would he think that? I admired him."
Harry cleared his throat, shaking his head in befuddlement. "I think there's a lot of things going on inside Kingsley Shacklebolt's mind that aren't exactly rational, Hermione. I mean, it sounds like he might have killed Amelia Bones. He tried to talk us out of testifying for Malfoy. He ordered an investigation of Neville. And if you think about it, he never really came out publicly on the side of the Order until the very end. I'll be honest, I'm not certain we knew the real Kingsley Shacklebolt."
Hermione's mind was reeling. Ron continued to read the scroll on the desk, and now he was turning slightly green.
"The two of you need to read this."
Draco.
"Who died and made you God?"
Draco choked out. Exactly what kind of monster was this man? Shacklebolt only granted him a sinister smirk.
"Well, I believe it was Tom Riddle. You know, your old boss, Voldemort. When he died, there was a power vacuum. I learned from a very early age to take opportunities as they arise, Malfoy. Certainly, Lucius taught you the same."
"Is that what this business in the Department of Mysteries is, then? Another opportunity?" The minister's face turned shocked, briefly, before he recovered.
"Who told you about that?"
At Draco's silence, the wizard only nodded slowly.
"Ah, you got the information from Jason Coleridge, somehow. What did you use? Imperius? Veritaserum? Just plain old violence? You know, those are all illegal, Malfoy, especially for a convicted felon such as yourself."
Draco stayed silent, occluding determinedly. The minister gave a dark laugh.
"I suppose if you're really lucky, perhaps we can get a cell for you right next to dear old Lucius. I hear he's gone positively crackers at this point. Pulled out all of his hair, raving mad half the time. It probably won't be long till you're like that as well, I suppose. Knowing your mudblood will be an ordinary muggle soon enough once you're gone."
Without thinking, Draco's hand was on his wand inside of his pocket.
"If you ever get close to her—"
Shacklebolt's laugh was almost sincere now.
"You'll do what? Come after me? You and what army?"
A door opened behind the minister, and Draco, who had been on edge at Shacklebolt's threat, was now positively weak with worry. Granger stepped out of her bedroom door, a fierce, familiar look on her face, copper eyes burning with rage. Her wand was drawn, aimed at Kingsley Shacklebolt. "He won't be alone, Kingsley." The older man turned swiftly, his own wand gripped in his hand, pointing it at the witch. Draco glanced down, unsurprised to see his own wand pointed at the minister.
"Granger, what are you doing here?"
he asked quietly. Where were the two Gryffindor baboons, and how had they allowed her to come storming in here with her hair on fire, ready to incendio the Minister for Magic with her eyes alone?
"Yes, Miss Granger. The question on both our minds. I checked that room several minutes ago, and there was no one inside,"
Shacklebolt said roughly. "Well, perhaps your magic is failing you," she said. Behind her, Potter and Weasley stepped from behind the door, flanking her shoulders. The minister only stared at the golden trio for a moment, before speaking again.
"Invisibility cloak, I presume. Well played, Potter. Your father used to get up to all sorts of hijinks with that."
Potter said nothing, only staring at the man that he once thought of as a sort of hero.
"So, Miss Granger, how long have you known about Malfoy? How long have you been working with him?"
Granger's face still was a harsh mask of anger. "I only just learned about all of this. Draco has apparently been working with Harry and Ron on this for some time."
"I see,"
Shacklebolt said in a sharp tone. To the two wizards at her side he intoned,
"You know, robots will have to hear about this. keep your useless threats to yourself, Minister. We have everything written down, in your own words. You're going down for this," Potter said. The Minister for Magic only sneered at the four of them. "You seem to think I care about some minor little confession. I've said nothing that will get any sort of punishment more than a slap on the wrist from the Wizengamot, and all of you know it. You seem to have forgotten who you're dealing with. I'm Kingsley Shacklebolt, beloved minister, war hero, darling of the press. Yes, you may be the chosen one and his little friends, but I have the might of the ministry behind me. I will crush all of you. I was born for this." The man's wild stare fell upon them all and drove a wedge of doubt into Draco's mind. It was true. They were a convicted Death-Eater, a Muggle-born witch, and 2 auras in training. Potter might be the boy who lived, but was that truly enough to bring down the sitting Minister for Magic? The Wizengamot, the press," Potter stuttered uselessly. Shacklebolt laughed in his face. "It really doesn't matter, Potter. None of you matter. None of your lot will ever amount to much. The only one that ever stood a chance is your darling mudblood here. And it won't be long before the research from the Department of Mysteries is complete, and even she won't be a concern. Besides, I feel fairly certain that she loves this Malfoy twit just as much as he loves her. Weak people deserve each other. For as long as you both shall live, which, if I have anything to say about it, may not be for very long." Suddenly, the door to the tiny toilet swung open. A drawling, high-pitched voice rang out, echoing off the tiles of the minuscule space of the washroom. "Well, Minister Shacklebolt, fancy meeting my old school housemate here, of all places, and discussing such enthralling topics as these. My. I know of a lot of readers who would love to hear all of the juicy dish about this. You may be the darling of the press now, but just wait until I take this information directly to my book publisher, and to the Daily Prophet." From out of the toilet stepped the infamous Rita Skeeter. Her blonde hair tightly coiled, her fingernails perfectly pointy. The witch was dressed oddly in a mismatched ensemble of a red jumper, a tight miniskirt, and torn fishnet stockings. Shacklebolt looked slightly terrified, an expression he immediately tried to hide with his bluster. "Rita, what are you doing here?" Rita walked over to Shacklebolt, her mincing steps floating her across the room in an exaggerated, feminine manner. "Well, my old friend Harry Potter got in touch with me. He told me a little about some of your schemes. Grades tampering may only get you a slap on the wrist, Kings, but murder! Siphoning off magic from Muggleborns to give to squibs! Oh, that's the stuff that gets you a Dementor's kiss, if you're lucky." Shacklebolt looked visibly pale, his dark skin and eyes suddenly almost grey. "You have no proof that I did anything, just your word." Rita gave a tinkling laugh, throwing an arm around the minister flirtatiously, running her hand along his arm. "You think I need anything more than that? Salazar's locket, man. I literally sold hundreds of thousands of copies of my last book, based solely on the ramblings of a senile old woman steps away from the grave." Shacklebolt was shaking his head. It doesn't matter. There's no proof, and my lips are sealed." Rita trilled in hateful laughter. "Oh, darling Kings, you were always such a fool. Never change, yes? You know, I'm just as much of a Slytherin as you are. You think I'd confront you without insurance?" Not waiting for an answer, the witch jerked her thumb back at the minuscule toilet.
I had my own quick cuts quill in there with me, you know, and I've already owled my copy of the transcript to my editor, along with my notes. I feel certain that if he hurries, we might make the evening edition. Imagine, murderer minister enmeshed in dark plot to steal magic from muggleborns. The title's a bit clunky, but we'll workshop it. I have a feeling that this is going to be drawn out for weeks, possibly months. I might even top the royalties I got from Dumbledore's book, with the tell-all I've got on my hands." The woman's teeth glittered hungrily.
"There's no need," the minister started. "I think it's safe to say that there's every need, Minister. We trusted you. We thought you were on our side. The wizarding world thought you were on our side," Weasley nearly shouted. "And the whole time you were scheming against us." "Shut up, Weasley. You're a pureblood. You would have been fine. If you had just listened to me, allowed me to lead, you would have been fine."
Shacklebolt seethed. Potter reached into a pocket, withdrawing a pair of magical handcuffs.
"Kingsley, let's not make this any harder than it needs to be."
The minister gave a low, sinister laugh.
You think you can hurt me? You think I'll just come quietly? God, I cannot figure out for the life of me how you managed to get where you are.
"Dumb luck," giggled Skeeter. "But I played my part in creating Potter's legend too, and it looks like I'm about to get to do it all over again. So, what do you have to say about that, Minister? What was it you asked me years ago when the two of us were alone together? Am I doing it right, Father?" Shacklebolt flashed a menacing look at the Slytherin witch. With lightning quickness, he sent a quick stinging jinx to her hands, causing her to drop her grip on him and step away. Quickly spinning on the spot, the Minister for Magic disappeared in a swirling wind of disapparition. He left behind the Golden Trio and Draco, who looked alarmed and flummoxed at his sudden disappearance, and Rita Skeeter, who looked, against all odds, mostly pleased.
Who gives a fuck about an Oxford comma? I seen those English dramas too. They're cruel.
Thank you for listening to Who Gives a Fuck About an Oxford Comma by Great 78. If you enjoyed the story and would like to listen to more, please follow me on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts by searching for Silver and Copper. Or you can find me under Great 78 on Archive of Our Own.